Hello everyone, and welcome back to Barrier Breach. This time around, we will be covering a somewhat obscure indie horror game called Pigsaw. This game is personally one of my favorite ones that I've played, and although I'm sure most of you haven't heard of this game before, I still wanted to go out of bounds in it because it's actually a very cool and short game. So without further ado, we out. Also, this one goes out to CJ Robinson 2403, who has been asking for this one for quite some time now. This one is dedicated to you, bro. So like many of the menu screens I've covered before, this one has a dedicated environment setting that shows many prisoners who are trapped in cages with these pig enemies patrolling through. Even though you're only able to view a few prisoners at most, we can see how there are quite a bit more, and even more cool is this rotating spotlight, which is actually the one that provides the spotlight we see here on the ground. I always sort of just forget that developers often just leave floating objects, as there would be no reason to go through the extra effort of adding a structure to it, since of course we never get to see it. As disturbing as this is, these guys are actually human and completely naked as well, which totally doesn't make me uncomfortable. For some reason, this one cage in the corner does not have anyone in it, and even more weird is this line of cages in the far back, which also don't hold any models. Again, since we aren't able to see this far, it really doesn't matter anyway. Before we move on, I just want to say that this is such a great menu screen because it really does set up the vibe and show you what you're about to deal with. So when you press play, the game starts right here, which technically is also the last environment we play in, but it's gonna be a while before we get here, so let's just see what this specific environment has to offer. So normally when we first spawn in, we are only inside of the cage for about 15 seconds before we fall down the hole and end up deep within the factory. This is cool and all, but I really want to explore this area first, so I decided to slow down the game by a lot just to give us a chance to explore. So like I mentioned earlier, this is a place we come back to at the very end when we escape, but there are a few differences here that make it worthwhile exploring. Here we have this pig who is overlooking this entire area, and he seems to be operating the levers that open and closes the cages. Even though we are trapped in the cage the whole time, I really like how all the pig enemies still move around the map, since it really makes the setting feel genuine. When we zoom out, we can see that the holes that are under the cages actually go on for quite a bit and extend past the flooring by a decent amount. Something really cool that we never get to see normally and is actually quite common in first-person games is our player model, which takes the form of a pill-shaped mesh. This model also comes with a pair of hands, which are the ones we use to interact and hold the weapons we use. I was able to move the hands up and down, which was pretty funny. Got the spins, got the spins, got the spins. Okay, my bad. So there's nothing really besides this, which is fine because we do make a return back here at the very end. I just love how everything is pretty much here, with the back portion even having pig enemies in them despite not even being able to go back there yet. So one thing I love about Pigsaw is how it dives straight into the action right from the start. One of the main things I remember about playing this is when you first drop down and encounter the pigs for the very first time, who waste no time packing up the other humans and eventually you. Usually they target you right after killing these poor souls, but I did manage to disable my player, which now leaves the pigs free to roam without being aggroed. This whole little sequence happens within a minute of pressing start, instantly setting the tone for what's to come, which I really like. After a while, these pigs just end up standing right in front of one another, staring into each other's eyes for what seems like an eternity. I don't know about you guys, but they should like totally kiss or something, I don't know. Following that, we have Big Bro hiding in the shadows, waiting for us to come by so he can attack our cheeks, and I'm not rocking with that. We also have another pig dude doing the same thing just around this corner, and I know he's not happy because part of his head is clipping through the pipes here. This then leads us to the end of this environment, where we go through these vents, with one of the paths bringing us back to the beginning and the other one we drop down in to begin the next section. So once we drop down, we enter this area and our turd-shaped player model makes a return. Got the spins, got the spins, got the... Here we can see bro, who unfortunately met a gruesome demise, but I'm sorry, this death position is crazy. I don't care how dirty I'm done, I promise you I'm not going out like that, but RIP bro though. Here we have these two spinning saw blades, which you probably don't want to touch, and then this big old grumpy meanie pig. If we go a little bit ahead, we can see this pig who is overseeing the whole thing, and this man is not doing. I'm not sure if these pigs are on some sort of salary, but bro literally gets paid to just stand here and overlook this whole little room. Just behind him there's a shotgun with some shells, which I honestly had no idea was there. To be fair, these pigs start chasing you and it's very hard to get in here harm-free, but if you can manage to do it, this is actually a way to get the shotgun several segments before it's given to you. Barrier breaching this game really made me realize just how beautiful the vibe is. This boiler room has such a great vibe, and the red lights really just make the whole thing feel that much more menacing. These huge pots extend down past the ground by a little bit too. Following that, we make it to the end of this section, which has us falling down a large tube or pipe or something like that. But before that, we have one more thing to cover, which is this dude who is trapped behind his fan. I don't know how he got here, but he's floating too, so that's cool. This dude is low-key cooked because there is no exit behind him. I guess he's just doomed here for eternity. When you begin the next segment, you can actually catch an Easter egg, which I myself had no idea existed until I did this. By going up the tube we just came down from, you can see a purple glow, and if we get closer, it's a cute cat. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I got hella scared when I was getting closer because it looks really scary, but don't worry, it's just a cat with hearts coming out of it. There is also a can of food, which I have no idea why it's here, since you aren't even able to get up here. Moving on, we have the bridge that connects to the other side of this wall, and as you can see, these walls are quite large. This segment is also pretty hard because you gotta run past a bunch of piggies, but here is what it looks like. I didn't realize just how much I was going to enjoy just watching these pigs. There's something about watching NPCs go about their NPC behavior that really fascinates me, as this is how it would look like if the player never interacted with them. It's like they got little minds of their own, but of course, they are probably just coded to follow a certain path. This place may seem convoluted, but in actuality, it's not that complicated since there's really only one path, and the other walkways are just support for this whole structure. Once you make it past all the enemies, you have to jump into this tube where it brings you to the second to last environment. So here is the next area, and the layout of the pipes always kind of confused me. I don't know how any of these pipes are being supported, and a lot of them just lead to nowhere, but I guess that's just another one of the many questions this game raises. I switched the background to this green color, which hopefully makes it easier to separate the background. This place mostly consists of a bunch of these humans, all gathered around this large bonfire that has a green flame, which I'm not sure what it is. I mean, yeah, there's not much else to show besides this. If anything, this whole environment is actually pretty sad, highlighting the hopelessness of everyone trapped inside of here. In a way, it's meant to make you think about the actual animals in our world who have to deal with this, because as we all know, this is pretty much life for those domesticated animals whose sole purpose is to be butchered for us to eat. It's about time the pigs fought back, that's all I'm saying. Also, I just noticed that these humans have barcodes on the back of their head, which really solidifies this idea. Next, we have this mural thingy, which indicates that there might be a higher being and that it's possible to escape this hell. Again, I genuinely have no idea what the story is behind Pigsaw, and the gameplay always had me wondering if there was anything beyond just pigs finally getting revenge on humans. The text on the wall claims that there is a being who chooses who lives and dies, which makes me believe that there is a grander being with control over the pigs. Finally, in this area, we have an Easter egg, which can be obtained by successfully putting a barrel through all three of these baskets. These are the sprites that emerge from out of nowhere and begin walking on the pipes, only to shortly make their way off screen. I have no idea the relation that these Easter egg sprites have on the actual lore of the game, but if they don't, then it's just a fun little occurrence. So here we make it to the last playable section of the game, which sees us returning to the main floor with all the cages, which if you remember is actually the first environment we loaded into when pressing play. This back section now has the objects added into them, and the pigs are still here as well. This dude literally just stares at this soda machine forever. There's not even anything in here. So like I mentioned earlier, we do make a return here to the main floor, and it's pretty much the same to be honest, so there's not really much to show off, but I would still like to show you how the escape looks like. The only difference here are the added turrets, which are now monitoring the area, as well as more enemy pigs, and new levers that have been added to this podium thingy. Again, really cool just watching the pigs walk around in their natural state. So as you can see here, there are 3 levers, which are to open the cages, open the hole inside of the cages, and to open the gates on both sections. So the first time around, I totally forgot to take out the pigs, so these humans unfortunately were pretty much dead upon opening the cages, which I did feel really bad about. I accidentally did it at this section too, but don't worry, I will do this again so that everyone can escape. So I ended up removing all of the enemies and the turrets, which should make these people's lives a lot easier. Here you can see that they all pile up in front of this gate waiting for it to be opened. Next, I did the other section and I accidentally opened the holes instead of the cages. My bad. Okay, let's run it back again. Alright, so now everyone is finally out and free to run out of the facility, and as you can see, oh, you've got to be kidding me. There are actually 2 more pigs waiting behind the gate, which I totally forgot about. But hey, at least these guys get to escape. Never mind. Okay, so let's actually do it right this time. As you can see, all 32 of the prisoners are able to successfully escape and pile up right in front of this bright light. It is only until we as a player get close to the exit that it causes the ending to register and everyone is truly able to leave this godforsaken hellhole. Once we leave, we are given a cutscene of our player and whoever else survived running to freedom in this large field. This field is actually insanely huge, but that's because this cutscene goes on for quite a long time, so the length had to support the humans running for that long of a time. So yeah guys, that's basically it for Pigsaw. Pretty short and sweet game, but definitely one of the ones that stood out to me when I played it about a year ago at the time of this recording. It usually takes a bit for me to really want to buy and play a game, but the pictures of this game alone was enough for me to be genuinely interested in it. I had no idea I would come back to this game a little over a year later to Barrier Breach it, but here I am and I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I don't imagine this video will be as long as my other Barrier Breaches since it was a pretty short game in the grand scheme of things, but still definitely one I wanted to cover. Guys, if you're interested at all in Pigsaw, it is available on itch.io, and I recommend it for anyone who is looking for an indie game that has a mix of survival horror and first-person shooter mechanics. Anyways, it's your boy Blind, and I'll see you all very soon. Take care, guys.